This short video is going to provide you with an overview of how it is strategy actually impacts how we take a look at risk in the risk scorecard. So let's take a simple example. If we listed an organization's strategic objectives and priorities down the left side of a spreadsheet, and across the top their core risk elements, we'd have a table that looked a bit like this, where A, B, C, and D represent the strategic objectives, and 1 through 8 represent the risk elements from the risk register. Now, if we were to score a risk, let's say risk number 1, based on a combination of key risk indicator and the control effectiveness, we could come up with this, a couple of reds, beyond the risk tolerance, significant concerns, and a yellow. And maybe for risk 2, there's, 1 that is about or above the risk appetite and 1, in the yellow range. So in this example, which of these 2 risks would we think leadership should focus on? Now, on the surface, you'd answer risk number 1, probably, because it has 2 that are at the risk tolerance level. But if we were to add in an extra piece of information, how important are these strategic objectives on the left to the success of the organization this year? We would now see that perhaps risk element 2 is a higher concern because although it only has 1 risk, it's associated with a strategic objective that constitutes 50% of our priorities for this year. Compare that to risk 1, which has 2 risks, but even additively, it's 20% plus 10. So 30 at the risk tolerance level, and then also 20 within the risk appetite. So the idea here is it's necessary that we evaluate the risks in light of the strategy. You see, if this organization's strategy changed partway through the year, and objective B was throttled down to, say, 20, and objective C was increased to 50, now all of a sudden this risk becomes a dominant one that leadership needs to take into account. What we see in many organizations is this alignment to strategy doesn't exist, or even if they have considered its link to strategy, because leadership has not prioritized their strategic objectives, different leaders perceive the importance of a risk differently. So if you're in sales, you might see that risks associated with sales are higher than those in operations, and vice versa. So the risk scorecard is trying to take a look at the risk elements that you're familiar with, the strategic objectives you're familiar with, and begin to show the relationship between them. As you build this out, you'll begin to see both the risk element view in light of strategy and the riskiness of your strategy. So in this example, we can see that strategic objective B is at risk because all the risk elements are significantly high associated with it. This also affords you to do scenario planning. In scenario planning, what you would do is take a look at the implications if you changed your strategy. So, for example, if this organization changed its strategy to focus on strategic objective D, its net risk level would decrease because of the footprint of those risks associated with it. So this becomes a tool against which we begin seeing the strategic impact of risk. Now, the actual risk scorecard is a bit more complicated, where we begin to add in elements like impact as well as the performance against the strategic objectives. But it's just extending the model that we've talked about here. Now, if you'd like to know more about these topics, certainly without talking to people, feel free to join us at riskscorecard.net. But if you do have any questions, we're more than happy to help you out. What we've learned is that risk is a very complicated and in fact a new management science, and many organizations don't even know where to begin. So here's an idea. Just call us. So long as we can talk to you on the phone or answer the question with WebEx, it's all free. Thank you for your time.